and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. All right. Let us start today's event by saying Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much. I can hear you, Pa. I can hear you. Thank you for the spirit and highly appreciation to all of you still attending the third day of IPA this year. Once again, I'd like to welcome everyone to the 47th IPA Convention and Exhibition with a theme this year, Enabling Oil and Gas Investment and Transition for Energy Security. It's great to see you again this morning. I am Rahma Alia, honored to have the opportunity to host the event for the IPA this year. And we've seen how throughout the first 2 days of IPA, yesterday and the day before, all-rounded aspects of energy transition to secure energy security, sustainability, and affordability were discussed. One hot topic this year was the CCS, and yesterday we heard very elaborative discussions on that as well. That is believed, CCS, as the most impactful way to have the NDC Indonesia achieved by 2060. Now, competitions for capitals will increase definitely, and oil and gas sector will become taking the role in this transition era to have the energy resilience for Indonesia. Now, we'll have 2 plenary sessions today before the closing ceremony on this Nusantara Hall. Our first session today will touch on the theme of capturing high potential untapped resources and building a competitive oil and gas portfolio. Now, to open this session, we'll share a video about this special topic. I invite you to watch it all.
Capture high potential untapped resources and build a competitive oil and gas portfolio. Sejak tahun 2019, SKK Migas menargetkan produksi sebesar 1 juta barrel minyak dan 12 miliar standar kaki kubik gas per hari pada tahun 2030. Target tersebut dicanangkan demi mewujudkan ketahanan energi nasional dengan cara mengurangi impor dan menjadikan gas sebagai jembatan transisi energi. Untuk mencapai target produksi pada 2030, berbagai strategi telah dilakukan, yaitu optimalisasi existing aset melalui pengeboran sumur, transformasi cadangan menjadi produksi, optimalisasi pemanfaatan teknologi Enhanced Oil Recovery atau EOR, dan Enhanced Gas Recovery atau EGR, hingga eksplorasi. Dalam konteks eksplorasi, pada awal tahun 2022, SKK Migas menetapkan 5 fokus area di Indonesia bagian timur sebagai sumber potensi migas baru, yaitu Buton, Aru Arafura, Seram, Warim, dan Timor, yang meliputi 12 cekungan potensial di area tersebut. Meski demikian, diperlukan upaya ekstra untuk melakukan eksplorasi di area tersebut, karena berada di daerah frontier dan laut dalam dan infrastruktur yang terbatas, sehingga diperlukan terobosan fiskal dan perizinan untuk melakukan eksplorasi dan eksploitasi dengan memperhatikan persyaratan ESG. Prinsip keberlanjutan membantu mendorong investasi yang diperlukan untuk memastikan ketahanan dan keterjangkauan energi. Adapun pada tahun 2023, SKK Migas menargetkan investasi eksplorasi migas sebesar 3 miliar dolar Amerika Serikat atau 45 triliun rupiah. Hal ini tentunya memerlukan komitmen yang kuat antara pemerintah dengan pelaku industri hulu migas. Komitmen yang kuat dan strategi yang tepat adalah langkah yang sangat penting untuk menarik investasi eksplorasi demi mencapai target produksi migas nasional yang telah ditetapkan.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause, specifically not only for the video, actually this is also for you for attending the third day. This is the last day of IPA this year. And let's just get into our first discussion of the day. And to moderate this discussion, we will have Mr. Triharyo Indrawan Soesilo. Let me just introduce a little bit about Mr. Triharyo, or usually known as Mr. Henki. He is an expert in industrial plant construction with various experience, including fertilizer plants, petrochemical plants, power plants, oil and gas facilities, and refineries. His career began at PT Rekayasa Industri, in which took him to the CEO position within 16 years of span of time. Pak Henki served as commissioner at PT Pertamina Persero and then CEO at Supreme Energy. And between 2015 to 2016, his responsibility covers including building 18 CNG gas stations, more than 80,000 households connections. And he also plays a significant role in coordinating, monitoring, evaluating, and debottlenecking energy infrastructure projects, covering, among others, refinery projects, gas pipeline projects, power plant projects, transmission lines projects, and upstream mega projects. And in 2019, he was requested by the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources as the Special Advisor for Acceleration of Infrastructure and Investment. Pak Henki, are you here today already? There you are. Please welcome Pak Henki as the moderator for this discussion. Take it away, sir.
Very kind, the Master of Ceremony. So this morning is a very important morning session, and let's hear from very distinguished speakers. So on behalf of IPA, I would like to welcome Bapak Benny Lubiantara. Please, Pak Benny, take your seat. And then Bapak Yuzaini, Muhammad bin Yusof, please take your seat. And then Professor Doddy Abdassah, please take your seat. Thank you. Welcome speakers, welcome distinguished guests, and all of the participants of this early morning special discussion topics. So to set the scene, I like to introduce a little bit about the concern that we are having in Indonesia. We are now producing mostly in the western side, but not yet major production in the eastern side. That is one major concern in us. And also, we have so much existing fields, existing wells. How can we increase the production of existing fields and existing wells? So without further ado, let's hear our presenter. First of all, from Pak Benny Lubiantara. Maybe some of you know, he's now the Deputy of Exploration, Development, and Working Areas Management. He graduated Petroleum Engineering from ITB, and then he works in Maxus for 8 years. But I think some of you may not know, Pak Benny took a degree in economics from University of Indonesia. So he's a degree in petroleum engineering and also economics. Not only that, he took a master degree in accounting. Congratulations. So it's very rare. Petroleum engineer, economics, and accounting. So then he works for UNOCAL. And finally, he's became the SKK Migas expert before becoming deputy. But before that, he was the policy analyst for OPEC in Vienna. I have a privilege of working with Pak Benny in the past few years. I like to share with you, he's the silent operator. He is the mastermind of the oil and gas fiscal terms and incentives for the past few years. So without further ado, please, Pak Benny, present your presentation. This is your speaker. Oh, you want to use it? Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you, Pak Henki, as a moderator, and also other panelists, Pak Yuzaini and Pak Professor Doddy. Okay, let me start my presentation. I will focus on two aspects, Pak Henki and audience, exploration and fiscal. Now, let's move on to the first slide. Okay, this is long-term plan for SKK Migas. Everybody knows, most of you, at least most of you have seen this slide very often. 1 million barrel oil per day and 12 BCF gas per day in 2030. The main importance of this slide is that, we thought exploration, we thought discovery from the exploration, and we thought additional production from M.K, which is unconventional oil and gas. So the 2030 target will not be achieved. This is the first aspect. The second one, as we can read there, using the current terms and conditions, most of the projects are not economics, or at least they cannot achieve the minimum attractive rate of return. So there are two aspects. First, exploration, which include also M.K, which is unconventional oil and gas, and then the second one is fiscal. Next slide, please. Okay, this is, most of you, I believe, have seen this slide, of course. And myself, I've seen this slide even when I was a student, a long time ago. Maybe the difference is only the numbers below, but we know about this. But what I would like to deliver the message from this slide is that, even though technically we have confidence regarding the hydrocarbon, potential of hydrocarbon resources, but this become meaningless if the resource cannot be produced economically. So again, from this slide, there are two aspects, exploration and fiscal. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, when we talk about the project economic, there are at least 4 factors will have an effect. I will discuss only the fiscal aspect for this session. Other aspect like development, cost, oil and gas will not be discussed. But the important is, if I refer to my previous slide, why most of the project are economic? Well, the reason or the answer is actually is quite simple, as you can see on this slide. First, there is no significant upstream fiscal improvement for almost 30 years. Say at least until 2019, from the first incentive package, which is in 1989, during that period, there is no significant improvement in terms of the fiscal term. The second one, we have to acknowledge that poor gross split T&C term and condition for termination and extension block. So this is about term and condition. This is not about gross split. Gross split as a system, there is no problem. There is no issue with the gross split as a system. But in terms of terms and condition, the existing gross split is not quite attractive. We will, based on our experience, at least now we have already have 5 years experience implementing the gross split. Most of the project now become uneconomic using current term and condition of the gross split. So we need to issue the additional incentive. And later I will show you the slide that the government now is thinking of introducing a new version of the gross split. Okay, and then also in the past there is no flexibility. Everybody knows in the past only one choice. For example, you have to choose the gross split. Now we have the flexibility. So beside the issue of the fiscal, we must not forget that the timing is very critical. If you see the right side, very critical for the oil and gas project. Any delays will significantly erode the project economics. So non-fiscal policy is also important, of course, in the form of ease of doing business. So at this stage, it is clear that significant improvement of the fiscal term is needed. But we don't stop here, because we know that for the last, say, 3 years, 5 years, we have new challenge, as you can see here. We are under a net zero emission policy for most of the oil and gas companies in 2050. That means we are facing a new challenge. Capital investment competition is getting higher, everybody knows, and then also the financing risk increase. It means that minimum attractive rate of return from the contractor will also increase. And energy transition, there is additional cost from CCS or CCUS. So it means that significant improvement is not enough. Given the new challenge, we need not only significant, we need a radical change on the fiscal term. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, for the last 3 years, we have to acknowledge that a lot of things have been done from the policies point of view as an effort to maintain our fiscal attractiveness. Pak Hengki know exactly. He's the one who oversees and continue to push for this improvement initiative. So this is the illustration, the example of the investment incentive that we have been given. So I will not go one by one because of the limited time. But this is the stimulus, like you know. But basically, the main purpose is to make a project become economic, at least exceeding the minimum economic threshold to win the capital competition for the IOC portfolio. Okay, next slide, please. This is similar, significant increase in contractor slate. If you look at the first day of this convention, Pak Directorate General of Migas saw some new blocks, result of the offered, which we have to acknowledge that the split is significantly increased already. There is significant improvement already. We never seen before the after-tax split up to 50% in the past, But now the government already reached that level, 50%. We will discuss later. But see, other incentive like significant entry contractor split, blah, 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 blah. And then also now we are preparing together with our colleague from the Migas to simplifying the gross split. Because based on the 5 years experience, we are aware that current term and condition of the coverage is no longer sufficient to make a project economic. So we are doing the improvement of the TNC for the gross split as well. And then the most important thing later is the flexibility of using contract. We let the contractors to choose which one better. Are you going to use the gross split or are you going to cost recovery? Okay, next. Okay, this is the illustration for the focus area, for the 5 focus area, for example. My message here is very simple. This really requires a strong, attractive fiscal and commercial scheme. As I mentioned earlier, we have already have 50% after-tax split offered before, mentioned already in the first day of the convention, but it happened already before, like Agung block for BP, the after-tax split is already 50%. But the question that we may discuss later, if we can make it better, why not? Because the problem with the fiscal term, the fiscal term is not a static competition; it's dynamic competition. When we improve our fiscal term, other countries at the same time they have the similar convention like us, annual. They have focus group discussion. They have workshop. At the end, they will continue to improve their own term and conditions. So we have to observe, monitor, and we have to change. The question is whether we want to wait and see or whether we want to become a first mover. Okay, next. Now let me move on to the MNK, Migas non-conventional, unconventional oil and gas. Today, actually, is very important milestone for MNK, since the Gulam well in Rokan Block, which has unconventional reservoir target, will spot in today. The minister is there, Pak Hengki. Okay. We closely monitor. Hopefully, the results are good as expected. So, within 2 months, we are closely monitor the progress of this drilling for the Gulamo field, and then hopefully again we will have a good result. So, for MNK at this stage, honestly, we are in the learning process. We have no real experience implementing the development of the MNK field. So we are learning as we go along. Of course, the guideline like this, I don't want to elaborate the detail about the slide, but my message is we have made really, we really need your input and improvement so that the development of the MNK or unconventional oil and gas can run as expected. Okay, next slide. So this is the MNK. Of course, everybody know unconventional is very challenging. It cannot run using the common or conventional term and condition. We extensively discussed with some investor, with of course we together with Director General Migas, we discussed about the new fiscal term for unconventional oil. This is the illustration, but more or less the figure will be the same later. As far as we know, the unconventional development proved successfully only in US. I heard about the project in China, but we refer to the US unconventional. You see, we are aware that in US, they are using the royalty tax system, which is more or less the royalty 15 to 20%, depending on the area. And then the tax rate is around 21 to 28%. So for PSG gross split, which is the right slide, is the gross split, which is gross split arithmetically is similar to royalty tax anyway. So the government share, which is more or less like royalty, is around 5% to 7% only. So the tax, we use the current tax, 22% corporate income tax plus 20% withholding, dividend withholding tax. So at the end, we have effective tax rates is around 37.6%. Of course, we cannot compare head to head with the US unconventional, which already have achieved, the commercial level. The main challenge is, of course, at the beginning, costs may be higher, but we expect that the more activity, the more massive activities, the more wells drilled, we expect that the cost will be reduced, the cost will be efficient, and hopefully with the proposed new term and condition for unconventional, it will help the economic. Of course, it takes time. We will learn, as I mentioned earlier, we will learn during the process, but from the fiscal point of view, this is the one that we can propose. Okay, my next slide, please. Okay, this is my last slide. So let me read there. Our window is, I think everybody aware, our window is short. We are competing with the energy transitions. Need immediate action before project financing on fossil fuel investment is getting more difficult. So the second one, oil and gas industry play a vital role during the transition period as a buffer for securing domestic supply when the energy transition did not go as smoothly as expected. So this is very important to make investment now or never. So the third one, globally, competing for obtaining capital investment will continue to increase. So radical fiscal improvement need to be done to remain attractive in the global market. Since other host countries, they will continue introducing more attractive fiscal terms. And the last change paradigm, this is everybody aware, we are aware, our industry almost more than 100 years have been, a revenue generation for the country. So I think now, from now on, I think it is time to shift the paradigm from the oil and gas sector, not from revenue generation to energy resilient. With that, I thank for the session. I thank you, and I will ready later for the question and answer session. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Pak Benny. Excellent presentation. So, very attractive fiscal terms for Eastern Indonesia and breakthrough terms for unconventional, MNK. So that's Pak Benny's message. And next, the real player at Eastern Indonesia. From PETRONAS, Pak Yuzaini bin Muhammad Yusof. He is the president of PETRONAS Indonesia. He is also president of IPA, which are organizing this event. He graduated from Vanderbilt University. He has a very complete resume. Pak Yuzaini came from a very, very upstream guy. He was in oil and gas at PETRONAS Carigali in maintenance, operation, installation, asset management. and joint venture in Iraq. So I always say CEO is always different from one CEO to the other. But Pak Yuzaini made a lot of breakthrough as new PETRONAS president. So without further ado, Pak Yuzaini, please explain about your experience in the eastern side of Indonesia, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning. Selamat pagi, everyone. Good to see everyone here in this event. Thank you very much for participating since day one. Today is a bit mixed. I'm here today both as PETRONAS President Director, so CEO for PETRONAS Indonesia, and also as one of the IPA members. Presenting on how can we maximize exploration activities in Indonesia. As Pak Hengki mentioned, I'm not an explorationist, I'm not a geologist or subsurface guy. I'm mostly handling all the surface facilities, assets management. But again, once you come to the country, you straight away know the potential, the huge potential that we have here in Indonesia. If you look at the map, I'm starting this presentation just to show you the map, yeah? A map of all the exploration wildcat that has been drilled for 20 years, or more than 20 years in Indonesia. And you can see the difference where all the exploration wildcats has been focusing on. Right? I don't have to tell you where it is. You can see the dots, where is that? And Eastern Indonesia have fewer exploration activity, and it's still considered as underexplored with huge running room. So this is one of the most important opportunities for all of us, yeah, to do more exploration in this region. So if you look at this, you can see that Indonesia has about 86 sedimentary basins that can be further explored. Some of them are proven, while others need to be further evaluated. This basin contribute about the total discovered resource about 31.7 billion stock tank barrel oil and about 259 of TCF of gas. This is info from IHS in 2023. So I think this is the latest one that we have. And you can see from the graph, yeah, about 40 to 60 exploration wildcats wells were drilled each year before 2018. And the number of wells significantly dropped since 2019, 2022. I think, of course, everyone knows about what is the implication of the oil price. And then we have the pandemic coming in. And during that time, I think a lot of the companies are soul searching, looking back, what they want to do about their organization way forward. Are they going to do more oil and gas, or they want to do more of renewable? So that's where things got a bit messy during that 2019 to 2022. Only about 20 exploration wells, wildcat wells drilled a year, with a technical success ratio approximately about 50% averaging for the last 15 years, right? As you can see on the map, on the top right. So most of the well drill is, if you look, you compare between the eastern and the western side, most of the well are drilled at the western side of Indonesia, where it's at the proven petroleum system, proven play, and near-field exploration in that area. So indeed, there's still resulting more dominant volume discovered than Eastern Indonesia, right? But if you put, in terms of the number of wells, put that into context, Eastern Indonesia still have a bigger total discovered volume per well, right? So there's, in average, if you do a comparison, it's actually the number of well in Eastern Indonesia is lower, but the discovered volume is higher. That's what I mean. So for the past 10 years, big discovery with the contingent resources above 100 million barrel equivalent, continuously made Indonesia with dominantly gas play. And most of them found in eastern Indonesia where Asap, Kidom, Merah, and Lofin were discovered. And while on the other side of the geography, Timpan was discovered in frontier deep water of Andaman Sea. So meanwhile, small discoveries about the CR about less than 25 MMBOE are commonly found in matured area in Western Indonesia. Okay, so then moving along, when you look at the overall landscape of energy, as I mentioned in my first day of the opening remark, that we reflect back in terms of the energy demand of the world, right? You can see that the energy percentage, yes, you can see that the new renewable is getting higher in terms of percentage, but the volume of fossil energy or hydrocarbon is still in demand, it's very high. And if we want to move to a cleaner energy directly, it will not happen overnight, while Indonesia needs the energy for domestic demand. Yeah? Hence, for upstream oil and gas industry, we will continue to be the critical role, and in order for us to stimulate and transform while reducing the carbon emission, right? I think very aligned with what we want to do, increasing the energy security while having its affordability and also maintaining the sustainability. Upstream oil and gas activities are required to be accelerated and boosted to meet the target needed during the transition period, upholding Indonesia energy security and affordability. So I know everyone knows about the target, right? We have 2030 target of 1 million barrel and 12 BCF per day, and approximately 25% contribution are from exploration. That's very huge contribution, yeah? And 25%. And essentially required to fulfill the domestic demand. So we know that it's not easy. The exploration in that risky area, very high risk, is expensive, but Eastern Indonesia definitely is still underdeveloped. It's still underexplored area and need to have a significant initiative, significant support, and also potential in order to mature it further. Of course, we cannot hide. There's a lot of challenges that we face there. Complex geologies, different from Western Indonesia. Everyone is very familiar with Western Indonesia. Challenging terrains. If you can see in the video just now, is full of natural resources in terms of forestry, and nice beaches, and everything's there is still unexplored. It's very difficult for us to do work over there, right? And then, of course, that escalates operational challenge and also costs. So that's why you can see why Eastern Indonesia is still a lot of potential, but no development activities in that region. Infrastructure availabilities, access to market is also very important, and you can see in the map as well, availability of infrastructure, especially on the supporting of a gas evacuation, are different in both regions. While Western Indonesia have well-established infrastructure, where we have pipeline connected to Singapore, and then goes from Eastern Java to Western Java, and there's a plan by the government to connect, right, between East and West Java, and also ultimately to the northern part of Sumatra. Meanwhile, in Eastern Indonesia, it's still lack of infrastructures, only connected by existing LNG plants or domestic market. And the market there is still considered very low. There's no big industries present. This is much more, given a lot more challenge to all of us. So there's always a solution for any challenges, right? To rejuvenate the exploration in Indonesia, there are several things I think we have discussed. I think everyone have downloaded the white paper, have go through the white paper, and all of us in IPA and all the Ph.D. contractors together with our government and host authorities, we discuss on how can we continue to look at solution in order to solve this issue on very underexplored area in Eastern Indonesia. One of the things that we look at is in terms of data. I think throughout these 3 days, a lot of the technical people are talking about accessibility of data, data on the cloud, whether we have enough data in Pusdatin, whether we have accessibility. So this is very important. Massive subsurface data acquisition accessibility is very, very important. It's very crucial in this manner. Yeah? Data should be gathered and through the 2D, 3D seismic acquisition and processing, right? And this enables us to have a better understanding on the subsurface while provide a higher confidence level. So this, in this matter, I would like to appreciate SKK Migas, which support and push a lot of data acquisition in conducting in the area of frontier and also underexplored area. So moving forward is very essential for us to follow up on this ease of access of open data in order to provide investor with clear overview of Indonesia oil and gas potential. Number 2 is definitely on legal framework. We have been talking about this for a couple of years, right? Establishing a legal framework to oversee and regulate all the EMP's activities within Indonesia to enhance regulatory stability, transparency, and ease of doing business, which is very definitely touched by Pak Benny just now in his presentation. So we need to be clear, permanent, transparent in order for us to move forward. And again, my third point is actually aligned with what Pak Benny has been mentioned, enhanced fiscal regime, right? So there's a lot of things that we can work together, feedback from all parties, especially from the operators and also the acquisitioning body and companies. We need to work together on how can we do better on this. And when we're talking about a lot of the gas is going forward will be what we call as transition fuel. So we need to have a clear regulation in terms of gas price and LNG price. This is very important as we want to focus on domestic demand, using gas to further have a multiplier effects, right? That's what we have seen in Sumatra and Java island. We need to replicate that, and how can we do that for the Eastern Indonesia area? My point number 5 is definitely on CCUS. There's a lot of things that have been shared yesterday. Yeah? We talk about the minister regulation, the discussion about how we can have a cross-border, and then helping the industry, not just in the oil and gas, but also the other industry that is hard to abate carbon emission. So this is an opportunity for us to look into this law and regulation on CCUS. And last but not least, I think when you look at, while waiting for that infrastructure to be built in terms of the evacuation, in terms of facilities to process and storage of the gas, for example, in Eastern Indonesia, maybe we need to look at some technologies, yeah, like floating LNGs that can offer fast gas monetization. As mentioned previously, there's a lot of the stranded gas field in Eastern Indonesia. FLNG may provide a solution and definitely offer a fast-track gas monetization for a smaller scale gas field, maybe 1 or 2 TCF, to a giant field that can be relocated for multiple field. However, feasibility of this monetization is subject to the field economy, right? So that's all that I have to summarize on this. I think we can have a conversation and to link up what we as the industry can help out government of Indonesia in order to balance in terms of this underexplored area, and how can we monetize and expedite the exploitation in this eastern area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Yuzaini. Excellent presentation. Applause, please. PETRONAS is moving very aggressively to the eastern part of Indonesia. In Seram, in Aru, in Masela, just signed the other day in this occasion. So congratulations. We receive also information from your CEO that you're moving reinforcement very fast for many, many projects. So congratulations, Yuzaini. So the final speaker, we talk about already non-conventional oil and gas, Eastern Indonesia. What about the existing major fields? What about existing major fields? Today we'll have a presentation from Pak Doddy Abdassah. He's a professor in ITB. Yeah, he's graduated from University of Southern California and also a Ph.D. from University of Southern California. One of his work today and his young guns, he told me he has a young guns. Under him there are many, many young guns, is to increase the production of existing fields in Petrochina and also now in Rokan. How do we increase the existing fields? But today, historically, today there will be a milestone. Pak Doddy will promote one incentive to Pak Benny and to me. Special incentive for existing fields. Without further ado, please, Pak Doddy.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for nice introduction, Pak Hengki. And as Pak Hengki mentioned, that we like to discuss down to the earth right now how to increase the production at mature fields, how to reactivate the idle wells or high water cut wells. Today, I accompanied by my junior colleague, Dr. Amega Yasutra. He is sitting in the second row, and we set the ground rule with him this morning. I will present the paper, and he will answer the difficult question, okay? Okay, as mentioned by Pak Hengki that he is the young gun. Okay. Okay. This is the outline that we like to, discuss today. One is the production problems and well selection for optimization. And then what is the data requirement for that? And we introduce the so-called heterogeneity index or HI screening, because we have to screen the wells and then identify the opportunity and the gaps. And we, of course, we have to do the diagnostic here. And after that, we design and recommend what kind of wells that we have to, increase the production, and followed by conclusion. Okay, probably excuse me to, present this slide. This is very basic slide for our senior student, okay? That this is production problem. Either you have well problems or reservoir problems or near well problems. So factors leading to production problem must be analyzed through proper diagnostic methods before deciding on the solution. As you can see that we have three-phase flow in the well, for example, mechanical device failure, and etc. here. Okay, this is so many problems that we have in the well. This is what we have to tackle day by day. Water conning, casing leaks, and this is the optimization workflow that we propose today. One, we have a well candidates, and then we check the status, whether active or idle, and then next to the conditioning integrity of the well, whether it is accessible or non-accessible. And then we do the screening methods here, HI screening, and then go to the opportunities. We check the well problems or reservoir problems, and we do the diagnostic. And after that, we design and recommendation and optimization. Now, when we have a selection of the well for optimization, this is what we like to, bear in mind that what is the well status, active or idle? How is the condition of the well? Does the well still have economic estimate ultimate recovery? So that's why we have to predict what is the ultimate of recovery for each well. And then does the well have reliable production records for analysis? And then what is the problem evaluation here? Whether it's reserve problems or well problems. And then finally with the technical recommendation will be decided based on identified problems there. Okay, this is the the step-by-step procedure for that, okay? And the well candidates, we have to check all the status here, well status up to the well logs, petrophysical markers, etc. Okay, and then this is HI index that we introduced. We have 4 quadrants over there, okay? Or low oil, high water, or you have a low oil, low water, high oil, high water, or high oil and low water. So we have to group up the wells over there, just like I can show you there in the one of the field here. So this SI screening provide quick outlook basically to identify over or underperforming wells, and then the selected wells or cluster will be diagnostic later on to identify the production problems. And then we prioritize the wells, will be optimized, and impact of technical intervention will be forecasted later on. Okay, so this is the example. Okay, how to introduce the opportunity and the gaps here. We select the candidates. We analyze based on log or PLT, perforation analysis, production history analysis, behind casing opportunity or BCO, and decline curve analysis. So basically, it is integrated between reservoir and production characteristics or production performance and reservoir performance. And then on the diagnostic, of course, that we have to, identify what is the ultimate recovery by well, okay? Even when we have secondary recovery, for example. So we have the methods, the cut-cum plot methods here, we introduced since 1984, is widely used by industry. And then we have also cum plot here to identify what is the decline, base decline analysis for here. And then also we analyze what is whether we have a conning problems, channeling, etc. And also the IPR, okay? After that, this is the design and recommendation. For example, okay, this technical recommendation shall be formulated based on identified problem that we explained before. For water conning, for example, okay? So we have to calculate the critical rate, absolute open flow potential evaluation, and then near well reservoir intervention. When we have a suboptimal flow, we have to go to the artificial lift optimization, whether we have to go to hydraulic fracturing, for example, acidizing, etc. Okay? It's kind of stimulation. In the well integrity problems, we go to well service technology. Otherwise, we just deplete that well and plug and abandon. Okay, this is an example of recommendation that we developed for some field here in Indonesia, just like Pak Hengki mentioned before. So basically, we have to calculate what is the well performance index based on the analysis that we have, okay? For example, BCO, cumulative production, prediction gain, and other parameters that is normalized to 1, okay? So finally, we will have well performance index, okay? So you can see that number over there is greater than 1 is very good, okay? So this is the criteria that we have to select, okay? And finally, this is the very interesting thing is economic, okay? But here, okay, we have to say the disclaimer, all costs based on ITB estimation and will be updated with respect to current field condition. This is, for example, for one well that we analyze, which is ZZ10, okay? And then the status is idle, for example. This is depth, perforation status, and then we calculate what is the liquid gain over there is 1 177 barrel fluid per day, okay? So we calculate also the remaining reserve is about 361 1,000. Okay, so we are calculating just by benefit cost ratio, okay? And when we calculate by benefit cost ratio, the value is 5.83. Above 1 is good, okay? So this is a good candidate. And then how to improve the investment climate for idle wells, right? So in order to increase the willingness of contractors to perform more idle wells reactivation, ITB, in this case, proposes that the government of Indonesia provide incentives when idle well reactivation are proposed in OPL, for example, optimasi pengembangan lapangan, or plan of further development with the following reason. Number one, incentive will encourage contractors to perform a deep dive on current idle wells to identify more opportunities. Okay, the incentive also will encourage higher spending related to ensuring safety and operation or the reactivation wells. For example, well integrity issues, leak detection, etc. Okay? Incentive also will be able to encourage investment, most notably in marginal wells with higher technical risk. Okay? And then this is what we propose, that when you have a typical idle wells reactivation, the flow rate trend, the baseline will be 0, okay? So incentive is given on the total production. When you have a reactivation flow rate trend, okay, we have flow rate, we have to establish the baseline, and the incremental production, we will give the incentive, okay? The incentive is given on the incremental production. So this is the conclusion that we like to share with you. Just like Pak Hengki said, that we propose the incentive in well basis. And then Indonesia has 1,000 of wells with their own unique problems. The proper intervention of each well shall be prescribed based on robust analysis and diagnostic that I explained to you before. Okay, the workflow for optimization of well in mature fields has been established based on well-understood petroleum engineering practices. The workflow reflects the needs for multidisciplinary team and approach. While the workflow itself is robust, the application still needs reliable and detailed database, especially well production history and petrophysics. Real application of the workflow is ongoing right now in several fields. We submitted to SK Migas already, and its outcome shall be witnessed soon. In order to increase the willingness of contractor to perform idle wells reactivation, ITB proposes that incentive will be given based on the production baseline. That's what we present today, Pak Hengki. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Pak Doddy. Applause to Pak Professor Doddy. Please welcome to your chair. So this is a milestone, historic moment if we can accept Pak Doddy's proposal. And I have already listened many times actually to the ROCAN team. The ROCAN team has more than 13,000 wells, and they are using now the new artificial intelligence software. So it will be done together with this idea, and I will request Pak Benny to consider the milestone of incentive well basis, not block basis. Pak Benny, let's think, yeah? So with that, I think, thank you so much, Pak Doddy, for that presentation and very historic moment. And to provide some feedbacks, I've been requested by the committee to request Pak Pri Agung from ReforMiner. Please, if you want to provide some feedbacks, Pak Pri. You want to hear or yeah, please. I think everybody knows, right? Pak Agung is very famous. He's now a lecturer in Trisakti. He's from ReforMiner Institute. Please take a seat, Pak.
Good morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Pak Hengki. Yes, I will not give presentation, of course, and I will also not give question in this opportunity, but I will start from Bapak-Bapak's presentation, yeah. From Pak Hengki and Pak Benny. I think we know that actually many things, positive things have been done by the governments in terms of policies, which I think we are moving in the right direction. Although I have some little notes on the policies being implemented, that in short, we need more practical and ease in its implementation. For example, if we want to implement a flexibility, then why we have to wait until working commitment is finished? That's the small technical things that I think we can improve. If we can improve in the small things in that particular aspect, then it will be better. That's from the government side. Before I continue, I think in general, actually, we all sitting here, we know that, we know the problems actually, what our problem are in oil and gas sector, because we have been discussing it, we have been talking it since, I don't know, since I started from my career as a junior observer, more than decades. We are talking about this. We have been talking, and we have been discussing, but apparently the problem is still there. Okay, but again, I will continue. From the players, I think the players see again that Indonesia is still prospective, still underdeveloped. But I think the players also see that they always see, or at least see Indonesia, not Indonesia in itself, stand alone, but they always compare Indonesia with other regions. So always in comparison, always in competition environment, not only in the context of region, but also now with transition energy, with other energy sources. So still, although the players see that we are competitive from resources aspect, but still in practice, in reality, wait and see and real investment still have to wait for many factors. So that's from the players, I think. And then from Doddy, Professor Doddy is my lecturer, of course, my teachers, always, not always in the past, but until forever, I think. Because teacher is always teacher. Yeah, and then from Pak Doddy, I think what we can see is that the technology is there, technical aspect, we have expertise, we have experience. So, what we needed then? At that point, and then I come to this is at least from my perspective, I think we are in the position or in the condition that, first of all, I think giving the let's say 1 million barrel oil per day 2030 as our standard. Let's put that as a standard. Although from technical perspective we may see that it's not realistic. Let's put it as our standard. If we use that standard, then I think good is not enough That's the first thing that from my perspective, I think good is not enough. And then the second, I think we apparently also in the condition that control is no more entirely in our hands. What I mean by that is that the government may introduce many positive and progressive or radical good policies, which is, of course, we need it. But in reality, the final determinant will be the market. I mean, the market will decide. The players will eventually decide in this kind of more tight and tighter business environment. So that doesn't mean that we can do nothing. We still have we need to do more than business as usual. Of course, we know that. And I will start from that. And I agree with Pak Benny that let's start with translated the change paradigm from oil and gas as a revenue, state revenue sources to energy resilience. You may choose energy resilience or economic mover. Yeah, let's try to translate it into real action. Then, in that case, I think we need to work together. Oil industry cannot work themselves. We need to put that, to change the paradigm. We need to change the way of us, the way of Indonesia see oil and gas resources. So it needs to be put in practically, in reality, or to implement that, we need to put it into the oil and gas law as an umbrella, so that the decision makers will not be hesitant anymore, will not afraid to expedite, to make decision that if they give up certain portion of state revenue in order to make oil and gas investment can go, then it will not cause the state loss. That's the non-technical and soft things, I think, that we need to tackle, to address before we go deeper into more technical things, I think. That's one of the examples that many things we need and we have to do it collaboratively. We cannot do it ourselves. Probably the last thing I would like to also mention in this opportunity that at certain point, this is all beyond the ESDM territory. Cannot be done only under ESDM or SKK Migas. We need oil and gas needs in practice. I think we need support from the higher level of government in this country. I will say, if President can give more support to oil and gas, then I think the condition will be different. And in that context, I think I just give a clue or message that I think oil and gas industry needs to, need to learn something probably from, let's say, mineral and coal sector. How do they respond the changing environment, and then they're still important, and the top level of the government notice about that. Oil and gas industry, I'm oil and gas industry person too, so I have the rights in my opinion to say this thing, that we cannot always feel that we are important and important. You may feel that you are important, and maybe yes, but how about the other stakeholders in other sectors? Let's say if we talk about to Minister of Finance, that's related to environment and to regional. So let's work together, I think, from that point, how to convince other stakeholders, to convince people, to convince this our business environment, right? The public's business environment. If we can, we need to work together to convince them that oil and gas is important, not only for economy, not only for energy, but still important and will still important. I think the technical thing we can improve. And in practical, lastly, Pak Hengki, I think the way we treat oil and gas sector, the way we treat investor, it's we need to shift probably, instead of controlling and supervising, into more facilitating, because the juror on paper, yes, the government can control, but de facto in practice it is, because we are not investing, so in practice it is on the hand of the investors. That's, I think, my closing remark, Pak Hengki.
Thank you, Pak Pri. Very excellent feedbacks. Please applause to Pak Pri Agung from ReforMiner Institute. He's also from Colorado School of Mines and also from Twente. So very wide education and experience. So with that, we are opening now the session for Q&A, question and answers. I have a message from the panitia, yeah. It goes through a QR code. I don't know how it's done, sorry. But Ibu Meti and Pak Krishna, can someone help me with the question and answers? Or it's already somewhere? Oh, Pak Yuzaini immediately is the chairman of IPA. So, okay, question to Pak Benny. You mentioned about the meeting minimum economic threshold to win the capital competition. What will be the rate, a threshold based on SKK Migas view? Please, Pak Benny. Maybe you can sit there, it's okay. I can also read.
Okay, thank you from Pak Bilal. I think the minimum economic threshold is different from company to company, depend on the risk, depend on the many factors, you know. We don't have the threshold basically, but as a rule of thumb, normally minimum attractive rate of return is the range of 15 to 20%. Just a rule of thumb figure.
And also government take should be bigger. That's the biggest. Next, sorry, Pak Benny, I have to sit up. Okay. For the massive data acquisition recommendation, how to achieve this with current seismic acquisition availability in Indonesia? Should Indonesia open up like other countries with multi-client data acquisition? Maybe Pak Yuzaini, from your experience in Eastern Indonesia. Please, Pak Yuzaini.
Okay, thank you for the question. I think the straight answer will be yes. I think if you heard my presentation just now, we have done a lot of data gatherings for all the companies that operating in Indonesia. I think the willingness to explore and to spend money on this is very huge. But again, I think doing it together, opening up the data access for this multi-client data access and also working together is huge potential. And we should do this. Is for the couple of months or years, we have been talking about this, but there's a lot of moving forward already done by Migas. I think when we talk to Migas and SKK Migas, there's a lot of openness on this, and I think we need to continue to talk to the host authorities, and I think IPA has provided opportunity and avenue to work together. I think our team, our subcommittee in exploration and also the data management, I think I see Ibu Rina is there. So I think she's advocating this together with,
so that everybody knows you.
Yeah,
please.
so please work
Welcome.
with IPAs and let's do it together and approach SKK Migas and Migas on this. That we really need to do it in order for us to spur more data in Eastern Indonesia for the benefit of all the players and also for the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Yuzaini. My question now to you. How confident are you about Eastern Indonesia? You acquire already, you means PETRONAS. PETRONAS acquired Masela. You did a joint study for Seram. You're now working on Buton, Aru. You're working on some secret area, which I cannot say. Without going into confidentiality, how confident are you about Eastern Indonesia?
Okay. First of all, I think one of the things that is most important for us in PETRONAS is looking at the data and the technology. So just to share with all of you, I think I shared it before in the last session, maybe last year, about Hidayah discovery in North Madura 2, PSC, right? Before we drill and execute, before we drill, to do the exploration drill, I think we have done seismic processing with the latest technology. I think as we speak, there's more technology out there. If you go to the booth or the exhibition booth, you can see some of the service provider is giving opportunity and new technology in order to do more, improve seismic reprocessing. So that's very key in terms of identifying the block, looking at the structure better, and looking at our confidence levels, and also improving the possibility of success. So based on that, I think I have my team, exploration team over here, with the support from our basin strategy in Malaysia and also throughout the world. I think we are confident, and that's why when I say it and why PETRONAS is there, out there in the Eastern Indonesia, let's work on it together, and we welcome potential partners and also collaborators with us, looking at this and helping the government in Indonesia to explore that area more aggressively. Thank you.
Okay, so optimist, right? Okay, thank you. Pak Benny, this is your test. The 1 million barrel oil per day and 12 BCF per day 2030, what's the percentage of achievement level today? Good question.
Achievement level is still 100% for 1 million barrel in 2030.
Okay, close to Pak Benny loh ini.
Yeah, but let me elaborate, Pak. I think it is important to elaborate. Well, we updated the LTP twice a year, Pak, based on the new data.
Long-term plan.
Data. And then I should say the main challenge of achieving the target is basically two. First, as I mentioned in my slide, most of the projects are uneconomic using current term and condition. First, our homework is to make the project economic, so we are ready to issue the incentive in order to make the project at least achieve the minimum attractive operating return. The second one, which is very important as well, we need to guarantee that project will not be delayed, because we have the list of the project. We have approved already the POD, we have provide already the incentive. But unfortunately, the project in our initial forecast, assuming will be on stream, for example, in 2027, now it's delayed to 2029. Just, it is very, it will affect significantly or our shipping. So, incentive, and then secondly, we need to make sure the project will not be delayed. So this is non-fiscal incentive. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Benny. Question to Pak Doddy. Now, Rokan is mostly water cut very high, but recovery factor is still very low. If Pak Benny provides the fiscal terms that you requested, you proposed, not requested, and the technology is applied, coning, whatever, is it possible to increase recovery factor, and how big the recovery factor increase?
This. Okay. I like to say some basic thing, okay, Pak Hengki, Pak Benny. Okay, Indonesia has recovered the so-called original oil in place is 75 or 75 billion barrels, okay? And we have produced about 25.
1/3.
Yeah, okay. So we have remaining in place underground still about 40 lah, yeah, 40 billion. That's held by about 27,000 wells.
27,000 wells.
Yes, 12,000, about 12,000 is idle, okay? So that's why we propose to reactivate that to achieve some of the production for achieving 1 million barrel while we are waiting for from EOR or from some other thing, okay? That is the idea, okay? Now, as we discussed with you, Pak Hengki, okay, when I was in sabbatical leave in 2000, okay, in 2001 in California, okay, at that time they proposed the so-called orphan well program, sumur yatim piatu gitu ya, jadi idle wells, okay. The state government, okay, matched $75,000 to reactivate, okay. A lot of participants willing to do that, and they are very successful. That's the simple idea, to increase the production, okay, to increase, our confidence also that don't let your well idles, okay. You have to get something from that while we are waiting the big things from exploration, from EOR, or from other things. That's probably, in terms of how much the recovery, it's depend, okay, it's depend on the amount of the well that you can reactivate. So that's why, with, our humble opinion, Pak Benny, please give them the incentive for that, okay, to reactivate that well. That's probably the ground.
Thank you, Pak Doddy. So, as Minister of Energy, Pak Arifin was assigned as the minister on day one. President requests him to increase the oil and gas production. So that's the only mission requested by President. So every time he always asks us, one of his questions is, what about idle wells? What about idle wells? So now we just met Pak Doddy now. So maybe this is the way to go. Okay, next is LNG export. There is many recent news about to ban LNG export while government impose price cap for domestic market to support industry and downstreaming strategy. What is the government plan in terms of offering more attractive fiscal terms if such downstreaming strategy can have impact to upstream economic and investment attractiveness? Pak Benny lah, please. Or maybe later Pak Yuzaini. Pak Yuzaini.
Okay, Pak, thank you. From upstream point of view, of course, the economic will be depend on many factors, Pak. Price is one of them, and then fiscal as well, and cost, and also the timing, etc. So we will discuss later, Pak, when we know price assumption and what kind of incentive, additional incentive is needed in order to achieve the minimum economic threshold for the contractor. I think that's all, Pak.
Yuzaini, you want to say something?
I think looking at the reflect back as an investor, right? That's very important in terms of for the investor to select which country that they want to invest in. So as a CEO of the company and operating in Indonesia, for example, I have to compete with the other CEO from other countries. Which are the investment that we need to put our money in? So that is really important, and as we highlighted in our white paper, as IPA white paper, on the importance to work together, to understand the pain point from all the 3KS, from all the PSC contractor and investor, even the new investor that is just looking to start investing in Indonesia. This is the right time, right? And reflect back on the underexplored area in Eastern Indonesia that we are looking in. The policy and also the regulation, if we set it right now, that can become a turning point for us to spur more investment in that area. I think we need to work together, Pak Hengki. I think IPA has been approaching you personally and also your team, and of course with SKK Migas, that need to be translated into the action item. I think we have a list of action items that we requested, and of course, again, I'm looking at Pak Hendra and the team as well on some of the things that we already have in our proposal since last year, and now we documented in the white paper. Let's do it. Let's have that conversation and move forward on that.
Thank you, Pak Yuzaini. But to correct the message or the news, there is no ban on export of LNG. The draft of the regulation has been pulled down. So I like just to make that statement. And there is a message here. I have to conclude the presentations and the question and answers because time is running out. So on behalf of the IPA and also the organizing committee, thank you so much, Pak Beni, Pak Yuzaini, Pak Doddy, Pak Pri. So Pak Beni is already promoting the new fiscal terms for Eastern Indonesia particularly, and also for non-conventional oil and gas. Pak Yuzaini is already moving very fast, his company and IPA, to Eastern Indonesia. So please join this move, and together we could produce more oil and gas from Eastern Indonesia. Pak Doddy, don't wait for exploration result. Let's do the 13,000 well existing, improve the wells, optimize the wells to increase the production. Provide fiscal terms for that one. So well by well, yeah, Pak Doddy, Pak Pri, very wise person. Please, not business as usual. Please do the details in the devil, the devil's in the detail. And also he promoted also for oil and gas law, new, which is now ongoing, Pak Pri, is under preparation. So with that, I conclude this session, special discussion topic. So please applause to all of the speakers. And thank you so much for your feedbacks and question and answers. I give it back to the MC. Where is the MC?
I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you, Pak Hengki. Wow, very lively discussion. I'm inviting everyone, all speakers and responder and moderator, to just move forward a little bit. And also everyone stay tuned, because after this we'll have another discussion, which is also going to be very interesting. And let's give a memento as our appreciation to all speakers, responder and moderator. And for that, I'm inviting Mr. Avep Disasmita from the IPA board. Please come forward, Mr. Avep. Here we are. All right, let's give away the trophies one more time to the speakers, moderator, and responder for the session. Very, very interesting. It was said that even though the upstream exploration have arrived at the sunset era, still it is relevant in energy transition. And there are many untapped potentials in Indonesia in terms of gas, for example. And of course, there are needs to improve and be more efficient in terms of exploration activities as well. Discussion has also touched on some technical problems and solutions for that, and recommendations for that as well. So hoping this will have our aim for energy resilience come true very soon. Thank you so much once again for the insights, all speakers. Now, all photographers, friends, please capture this moment. All right, gentlemen, don't forget to smile and hold your trophies high. 3, 2, 1. One more time. Bigger smile, please. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Good. Thank you very much. Thank you once again, speakers, moderator, and responder. You may return to your seat. And let's give a big round of applause, everyone, for this session. Thank you. And now we still have one more discussion on this plenary session. Ladies and gentlemen, the next one is association presentation.